This ASW plane is on a tactical operation against an enemy submarine reported to be in this area. The submarine may still be in the area, or it may be miles away. The job for this crew is to locate and destroy the underwater intruder. This film will demonstrate the operation of the equipment of the Sonobuoy indicator group AQA-1 and the techniques used in localizing a submerged submarine. This is the Sonobuoy indicator. It is used in conjunction with a dual-channel radio receiver, which is operated by this control box. The indicator may be used with any of three types of sonobuoys. They are the range-only echo-ranging sonobuoy, the AN-SSQ-15, the directional listening sonobuoy, the AN-SSQ-20, and the non-directional listening sonobuoy, the AN-SSQ-2B type. When launched into the water, these sonobuoys convey information by way of a VHF radio link to the sonobuoy receiver in the airplane. The receiver demodulates the signal transmitted from the sonobuoy, and the indicator displays this information on the scope. The information can also be heard on a headset. This equipment permits monitoring of two sonobuoys simultaneously, one on receiver A and one on receiver B. To operate the indicator group, first turn on the power switch on the receiver control box. Then turn this function switch on the indicator to its proper position. The function switch permits the indicator to operate with range-only sonobuoys, a combination of range-only and directional listening sonobuoys, directional listening sonobuoys, or non-directional listening sonobuoys for short range and long-range explosive echo ranging. This last position bypasses the indicator, allowing for listening only. With each position of the function switch, the scope displays two cursors, one for each receiver. They are used to measure range or bearing. The cursors appear like this for range only and directional listening, directional listening, non-directional listening short range, and long range. Now let us examine more closely how the indicator group functions with each type of sonobuoy. First, with the range-only echo-ranging sonobuoy, the AN-SSQ-15. After it is dropped in the water from the plane, the range-only sonobuoy begins sending out pulses of sonic energy, pings, at intervals of approximately 5 seconds. Between pings, the sonobuoy switches to listening and picks up echoes of the pings as they return from an underwater object or target. This sonar information is transmitted by way of VHF radio link to the sonobuoy receiver in the aircraft. In the receiver, the signals are demodulated and sent to the indicator. The function switch must be set for range-only sonobuoys. In addition, this temperature control must be set to the best known value of the water temperature. The start of each horizontal sweep across the face of the indicator is coincident with each sonar transmission or ping. Any echo received by the sonobuoy will appear on the trace as a vertical displacement. Simultaneously with this vertical displacement, the operator will hear the echoes on the earphones and will be able to determine if an echo is coming from a true target. By means of this hand crank, the leading edge of this rectangular cursor can be positioned over the leading edge of the vertical displacement. The range of target from the sonobuoy can now be read on the counter adjacent to the hand crank. In this case, the range is 130 times 10, or 1,300 yards. In some instances, a target echo may be heard on the earphones, but it may be too weak to register on the scope. In such a case, target range may still be obtained from the scope by use of the target read button. Pressing the target read button the instant the echo is heard produces a vertical displacement of the trace to which the cursor can then be aligned. When two range-only sonobuoys are in use, two horizontal sweeps will appear on the face of the indicator. The top trace A displays receiver A information. The bottom trace B displays receiver B information. Controls for trace A are on the left side of the indicator. Controls for trace B are on the right side. By positioning the leading edge of each cursor over the leading edge of the respective target echo, the operator determines the range of target from each sonobuoy. The number on each counter multiplied by 10 gives the range in yards from each sonobuoy. This information is immediately passed on to the plotting station. When circles are drawn, which show range of target from each sonobuoy, the circles intersect at two places. The target may be at either, but which one? One means of solving this ambiguity is by magnetic airborne detection. Employing a magnetic airborne detector, the ASW aircraft flies a course over each intersection. An MAD contact fixes the target. Another means of solving this ambiguity is to drop a third range-only sonobuoy to form a triangular pattern. The intersection of this sonobuoy's range circle with the others pinpoints the location of the target. Now let us see how the indicator functions with the directional listening sonobuoy, the AN-SSQ-20. When the indicator is used for the directional listening sonobuoy, the sweep of the scope must first be calibrated. This is done by use of the DL calibrate switch and the DL position and gain controls in accordance with the Handbook of Operating Instruction of the AQA-1. The directional listening sonobuoy is a passive listening device providing information of target bearing from the sonobuoy. The upper portion of the sonobuoy contains a VHF transmitter and antenna. Suspended on a 32-foot cable is a directional listening hydrophone. This directional listening hydrophone is continuously rotated by an electric motor. The 30-degree listening cone of the hydrophone rotates at 3 RPM. A compass, mechanically coupled to the hydrophone, provides continuous magnetic bearing information. When a sonar signal is received by the hydrophone, the magnetic bearing from the sonobuoy to the target can be determined. The receiver in the aircraft demodulates the VHF signals and passes them to the indicator. The horizontal sweep across the face of the indicator coincides with the compass signals from the sonobuoy since compass signal frequencies may vary slightly with each sonobuoy, a final adjustment of the gain and positioning controls may be necessary. Underwater sounds picked up by the directional listening sonobuoy appear as vertical displacements of the sweep. Simultaneously with the appearance of the vertical deflection, the operator will hear the underwater sound. From his training, he will be able to determine if the sound is coming from a target. By using this hand crank, the triangular cursor can be positioned so that the sides of the cursor coincide with the trace of the signal. The magnetic bearing of target from sonobuoy can now be read on the counter. When two directional listening sonobuoys are used, vertical deflections will appear on each of the two horizontal sweeps. The top sweep displays receiver A information. The bottom sweep displays receiver B information. By positioning each cursor, the magnetic bearing of the target from each of the two sonobuoys can be read on the counters. This bearing information is immediately forwarded to the plotting station. Intersection of the two bearing lines provides the location of the target at a given time. Now let's see how the indicator functions when two different types of sonobuoys are used, a range-only sonobuoy and a directional listening sonobuoy. At the indicator, the function switch must be set to the RO-DL position. In the meantime, the temperature control has been set and the DL sweep has been calibrated. Range information from the range-only sonobuoy is received on receiver A. Bearing information from the directional listening sonobuoy on receiver B. The receiver demodulates the signals and passes them on to the indicator. The range information on the upper trace and the bearing information on the lower trace. The operator turns the hand cranks to position the cursors to each target displacement. Range of target from one buoy and bearing of target from the other buoy can be read off the respective counters and forwarded to the plotting station. Here the range and bearing are plotted. The position of the target is established by the intersection of the range circle and the bearing line. The indicator also operates with non-directional listening sonobuoys, employing a special explosive echo ranging technique. Let's see how this is done. For this technique, the function switch is set on 2 times R or 10 times R, depending on the estimated range of target from dropped sonobuoys. The temperature control must be set to the best known value of the water temperature. These two sonobuoys are dropped some distance apart in the target area. An explosive charge is dropped near one of the sonobuoys. When the sound wave created by the explosion strikes the first sonobuoy, this information is transmitted to the aircraft. When the sound wave reaches the second sonobuoy, it too transmits this information. When the sound wave strikes a target, an echo is reflected. As the echo reaches each sonobuoy, the information is transmitted to the aircraft. And this is what appears on the face of the indicator. When the sound of the explosion strikes the first sonobuoy, it triggers both sweeps. When the sound of the explosion strikes the second sonobuoy, it causes vertical displacement of that sonobuoy's trace. As the echo from the target reaches the sonobuoys, it causes a displacement on each respective trace. By positioning the leading edge of each cursor over these vertical displacements, the range of the target from each buoy can be determined. When the range information is plotted, an ambiguity exists because the range circles intersect at two places. The target may be at either. Dropping a third sonobuoy and an explosive charge, a third range can be obtained and the ambiguity can be solved. In this film, you have seen how the sonobuoy indicator group functions with the range only, the directional listening, and the non-directional listening sonobuoy. You have seen how the information received and processed by the indicator group is used to determine range or bearing of an underwater target. And you have learned that by plotting this information, the location of the underwater target can be fixed. Your ability to properly operate the equipment in the sonobuoy indicator group may well mean the difference between an unsuccessful or a successful ASW mission.